And we're back for another show. I have my guest Marwa with me. How are you doing today?
Thank you for asking. I really appreciate that. Oh, blessed and I'm highly favored. See, that should go on the blooper reel. Y'all don't know what just happened a little while ago, but it's pretty funny. So I know we're going to be picking up from the last show.
Yeah. Today's topic is sexual immorality.
Woo, boy. All right. Let me put my seatbelt on. Click.
So for reference, it's 1 Corinthians chapter 5.
Are you going to read that? Because I don't even know what 1 Corinthians chapter 5 is. I mean, like, just a little bit to set it off.
Just a little bit?
Yeah.
All right. It's actually reported that there is sexual immorality among you, and the kind of sexual immorality that is not even tolerated among the Gentiles. A man is sleeping with his father's wife, and you are arrogant. Shouldn't you be filled with grief and remove from your congregation the one who did this? Even though I am absent in the body, I am present in the spirit. And as one who is present with you in this way, I have already pronounced judgment on the one who has been doing such a thing. When you are assembled in the name of our Lord Jesus, and I am with you in spirit, with the power of our Lord Jesus, hand that one over to Satan for the destruction of the flesh, so that his spirit may be saved in the day of the Lord.
I don't know if I'm ready to talk about this one. Hit dogs holler. And as a divorcee, I'm back out in the world, and I do my thing from time to time. Sometimes I'm in relationships. I don't really do situationships, but it's happened. So what do I do? Am I damned?
Choices had to be made. So there
but
we are.
I made some choices already. So when I got a choice to make tomorrow.
When you're willing to turn away,
yeah,
then you can repent and turn away and make that choice.
Man, but she's a bad.
Hey, choices had to be made. So just like the day of judgment, choices will already have been made. So God will make his choice as the judge based on our choices we've made.
But there's no quarter for the times that we're living in.
What do you mean, times we living in?
Not like the old days where, you courted a woman and
we close to
then
the
you
times.
got married. And, now it's, you might have sex on the first date. You might not even have a date because you got Tinder and whatnot. It's like, hey, you down?
So that's the choice you
down
made.
To frolic, DTF.
So
it's like, yes, I am. I'm on the way.
So if that's what you're looking for, then that's your choice.
Well, I'm not saying that I'm looking for. It's just
there's consequences for every choice. So if that's the choice you make and that's what you're looking for, then that's what you're gonna get, and then you're gonna get those demons and devils that's in that.
Life for a man is like a boiling pot. Sometimes you just gotta let some of that steam out. You know what I'm saying? Just have demon time for like 30 minutes, then I'm good. No, that's wrong.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Oh man. But so what do? I don't want to get married again.
Why not?
One, the legal system is not favorable to men. So I don't want to get back into a situation where
but you can do a prenup.
I can't go through a great divorce. Most women, Western women, ain't hearing a prenup.
Well, then they ain't for you. But you can find one if you will, but you'd have to be willing to look and wait.
Man, I might have to import.
So you lost all hope, huh?
Yeah, I kind of lost hope. Just feminism and Western attitudes. Most women are taking obey out of the vows and being submissive. You had read a verse earlier.
So none of that applies if you're not obeying God. See, the reason why they says obey your husband and be submissive is because you're supposed to be obeying and be submissive to God.
Well, I could do that.
So as you're looking up, representing God,
okay,
and in the form that he created first, your wife is supposed to be looking at you.
Man, I hate when you put me in check.
Because it's God, man, and woman.
All right.
So the glory
let's
of the
say-
woman is her husband, but the glory of the man.
So let's say I'm trying to do the right thing.
Okay.
Right. I'm trying to live upright and
Yep.
do as the Lord say do it.
Yep,
Right.
Yep.
But I am looking for
You can. So
a friend.
So it's I don't want to say it's a tricky thing to do, but you can pray for a wife, but just be willing to wait, and as God prepares you, He gonna have the perfect wife for you.
So I got to go monk mode until I get married. That's tough. See,
it is.
That's hard.
But yeah, but you waiting for the one.
See, that's how I got to do it,
it,
right? So I got to make a choice. Either
Gotta
go
make a
monk
choice.
mode or burn for eternity. That's a wow.
Yeah, it is.
That's a tough choice.
Yeah.
I mean, because
you're not just burning in hell. It's like complete darkness. Hell is like a prison.
Well, doesn't God know my heart?
What that got to do with it?
I mean, that's what people say. God knows my
That's
heart.
that's what people say.
Mm-hmm.
But that
Does it work?
I'm sure the people who've been judged sitting in jail right now in hell,
They probably weren't saying that.
No.
But I'm hoping God knows my heart. Like He knows my intention is good.
But if your intention is good, why can't you do what you intended to do?
Well, because
you chose not to do it, right?
No, I just have manly urges because I'm a man, and I was married, and that was okay during that time. Now you're saying I've got to live a life of solitude and abstinence.
I didn't say to live a life of solitude, but I'm saying to get yourself right. So when God bring you a wife, then you'll be ready to be a good husband. And vice versa, because the woman that you want to marry, hopefully she has been waiting as well. Because it goes both ways.
Does the Bible say why that's a sin?
What's that?
Sex
fornication?
Yeah.
Because God, all right, so that's why the fallen angels, that's why they doomed. Because sex was never meant for them.
Mm.
But God said sex is the legal right to procreate within this thing. That's why God made that. That's why marriage is supposed to be so sacred. We just, as Westerners, we don't know how sacred it really is.
Yeah, but He made it for the angels. He made it for man, and He wouldn't have gave me the tools. But He wouldn't have made it feel good, and He would have made me good at it.
No, to be married. That's why. When you're married, then that gives you the legal right to partake. Yeah, I know.
But that's serious, right?
I'm
I'm supposed to marry with the intention that this is my bride till death do us part.
Yeah. Supposed to love the bride like God love the church. Through the thick and thin.
I'm not seeing it right now.
All right, so you say you find a woman overseas somewhere. Is she going, just because she's not a westernized woman, she's going to become one eventually?
No, you got to keep it locked up. She got to stay in the basement, stay in the
house.
That's
not how you treat a wife either.
Why? That's what Eddie Murphy said.
Exactly. How many times? And that didn't work for Eddie either.
No, it didn't, because he let her out of the closet.
And she took
that is a concern, right?
She took half his money.
I am concerned about that.
If you be honest and show her, look, these people are going to be saying these things, but you would prefer that she keep her traditional values, then you should be good.
Well,
but you got to have an understanding that way. Say, look, this is what I like about you, and this is why I chose to come find a bride somewhere outside of my country, because most of the women, not all the women, but most of the women don't have those traditional values. They think traditional values is dead and gone here.
Yeah.
And not knowing those traditional values was to keep you safe.
Right.
In reality.
Right.
To keep you safe and keep them demons away.
Mm-hmm.
Because when God made women, He said He had to cover women twice. Once by Him and once by the husband. Because as men are visual, when Adam seen that, then that's what, made Adam say, "Oh, I'll eat the fruit."
But I think it keeps men safe too, right? That we're not out there.
Yeah. Keeps men safe too.
Getting into stuff, having extramarital affairs.
Well, that and the bestiality and stuff that's going on right now. I mean, that was Your
Well, you
wife.
kind of went left
So,
there.
well,
I mean, I'm
no,
just talking about,
no,
you know.
but it's a whole thing because
Like, whoa.
all of this stuff is going on right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not interested in that piece of it.
But again,
Just to be clear, audience.
This is what's going on, and this is what's going to bring judgment.
Yeah.
So people got to understand there are those people out there that are wanting to marry animals, and it's legal.
Man, you should see
You
how
can
many
marry
stories.
whoever and whatever you want right now.
Well, it's not even marrying. You should see how many stories are on TikTok and on YouTube with women that got dogs in a jar of peanut butter. You know, I mean, it's a lot of them, and that's got to be some kind of, you know, humane society issue, right?
So you got to look at the mixing of those DNAs again. That's why it's going to bring judgment, because you're doing stuff. That's why God said don't do that, because you're mixing again.
So let me ask you another serious question, and I'm deadly serious.
Because
Is masturbation a sin?
Fornication. Yep.
Masturbation is a sin.
Yep. Fornication.
Man, that's a
I know. Yeah.
Now, does it say that in the Bible? That I can't even masturbate?
Everything. They said everything outside of the marriage bed.
No.
No. That's not in the marriage bed. That's not in the marriage bed.
Well,
that's satisfying yourself without a spouse.
Well, how about go find a woman?
It's rough. It's rough.
Especially if I'm looking in the church, and 99% of the church women in her top drawer got the Power Buster 2000.
Ain't supposed to be doing that. I get it, but again, that's why them things. So they say the sexual sin is one of the hardest to overcome because of that.
Yeah.
But that spirit is the most. I don't want to say the most demonic, but it has the hardest grip on individuals. So,
man, my mind is totally in the gutter. I'm sorry.
But that's
forgive me.
But that's
like I like the tiny script.
But that's what's going to bring judgment, because humanity has always had, since the beginning, has always had a hard time.
So let me take it out away from me now and bring it larger, macro. I definitely can see how sexual immorality has really hurt the Black community, the United States in general, and globally. Right? We see a lot of degeneracy and a lot of issues that are going on. What can
Sex
we
trafficking,
do?
all of that.
Yeah. What can we do, not outside of just trying to exercise our own morality when it comes to sex? What can we do as a collective to start impacting maybe first our small community and then starting to spread that out?
Teach your children to wait and explain why they should be waiting.
But they're ridiculed for it.
They are, but they won't have those. They won't have those demons.
Mm.
They won't have those evil spirits attached to them either. Did you? So I remember the last time we talked about sex unmarried was. Did you ever look that up to find out about the male sperm going into the brain?
Oh no, I didn't get a chance,
to find that?
Research that.
Okay,
yeah.
So when you get a chance, research that and let me know what you find. But that's also a part of that. So when God said one flesh, that the two become one, that's a real thing. So spiritual and physical. So you gotta be careful, one, who you are tying yourself to, because that's a soul tie as well. But it's supposed to, in the marriage, that's a healthy soul tie, and that's good. But outside of that, you're giving Satan legal right now.
Mm-hmm. So sex is a pretty big no, right?
Outside of marriage. Yes.
So should men and women that are having premarital sex be leaders in the church? Should they have any standing in the church, whether they're deacons, deaconess, ushers, Bible study, vacation Bible school?
I'm not going to say yes or no, but it's a bad example if they are, right?
Mhm.
And you're supposed to have a position. You're supposed to be leading by example. You're supposed to be showing the new members or all the members of the congregation, this is how it's supposed to look. This is God's house. We're supposed to be representing God's kingdom, and this is what he said. This is how it's supposed to look like.
But sadly, today you wouldn't have a church. There's only like maybe 4 couples in the church.
But see,
and many of them are old.
So then that's the pastor who has to be reiterating that and teaching that. So to the older members, he's supposed to be, when the pastor first starts, that's supposed to be the first thing that they deal with.
Mm.
If people are single, then you need to be waiting. If it's that dire, then start thinking real seriously, like, do you want to be with this person for the rest of your life, for the long haul?
I like to try the milk before I buy it.
See that?
Make sure it's not expired.
But again, those are choices that everybody got to make. So are you willing to, while you making those choices, are you willing to deal with the consequences?
But you know,
because that's what it comes down. Every choice has a consequence.
Right. And there's spiritual consequences, and then there's worldly consequences.
Exactly.
And so that's tough. Like right now, it would be hard for me to tell a man or a young man to go out and get married from the worldly aspect just because of what happens to them in divorce.
Exactly.
What happens to them when it comes to reproductive rights, right? And
see,
you have a child.
So you have to find a godly woman.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and at that point, you can't limit yourself to where you find a godly woman. I get that.
But I might be 16, 17 years old. So
then he shouldn't be worried about a woman right now, really. He should be worried about how he's going to take care of himself. What are his at 16, 17?
Oh, yeah.
He's still in school.
Right.
So he should be worrying about, okay, what am I going to be when I grow, when I graduate? Am I going to college, or what am I doing?
Right, but you remember what it was like being a 16-year-old, right? We're ready to go at a moment's notice.
But those were bad consequences, because those are choices those are hits on the head we could have avoided had we listened to those ahead of us and say, hey, look, you can do that, or you can choose to take care of business right now.
I don't know, most of those ended well for me.
But see, we got to take care of business.
But
it's not working out for the women, because how the young men are taught is to go out and have all the fun you can.
But that's how the women are taught today.
Today, yeah, but and look where
they're worse than the men.
And look where we at now.
Statistically, they're having more sex than the men are.
And look where we at now.
Yeah, I'm with you. So I don't know what the even road is, young man. You're the horniest you ever been because you're going through your changes.
Work out, go run.
Work out, run, get married. But you got to try to find this young woman who is a godly young woman, a teenager.
But see, at a teen, you shouldn't be trying to worry about getting married at a teenager.
Man.
Not really. You should be focusing on, okay.
So you're saying we got to teach discipline.
We need to teach discipline.
Okay. Which means that we need to really be involved in our young men and women's lives. And we shouldn't let them stray too far away from us.
Or at least give the explanations of why. Because I know when I was growing up in private school, they just said, okay, here's the 10 Commandments. But there was never an explanation. It was saying it's in the Bible, don't do it. There was never an explanation of why.
So how do we
reiterate?
How do we have these conversations where the father is teaching this with the son, and now the son is at the family barbecue, and all the uncles is talking about, yeah, I did this one and that one and this one. What you got, young buck? Oh man, you wet behind the ears. Come on, ain't no nephew of mine. You can't carry the last name if you ain't. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he gets it from his own family.
He does, but we don't have great, I ain't gonna say great examples like the uncles, like you said, they're uncles, right? But they're not always having your best interest at heart. So as a father, it goes back to the father saying, like having those sit downs, and even if you ain't doing nothing but just having a ride in the car and just talking about stuff.
So talk to the men right now that are raising young boys or mentoring young boys and young men. Give them a few tips that could biblically get their minds right and help to steer these young men into a correct place.
And encourage them to wait and have patience, and just make them comfortable where they can talk to you. And don't criticize when they give you an answer that you may not like. And just be open-minded, and just, hear what they have to say. At least when you're talking or when you're mentoring a young man, hear what they have to say, hear what they're going through. Some of the things are going to be similar because things do, history does repeat itself, but the times have changed now. So with all the social media, things are different in that aspect. Cause like we were growing up, if you wanted to bully somebody, they had to come to your face. Now they can just do it online. So the game is the same, but it's electronic now, so it's different.
They can do it a fake account.
So it's a lot different. But when you get down to the root, it's still the same game. So you have to be. I don't keep track a lot of how the kids have, like, the situations they have now. But I know I need to be more, at least I need to see more, just so I understand and get a better understanding of what they're going through and how to help them maneuver better.
One I would add is, for men that are in this leadership position with young boys, young men, is not to brag on their own exploits, right? Because it puts a lot of pressure on them to, try to achieve what my mentor
and let them know the exploits. If you're gonna put your exploits out there and say, look, this is the bad mistakes I made. This wasn't, the good mistakes. I'm trying to impart on you the wisdom and say, look, you don't have to run the streets like I did. That's not cool. If you wait, your value is more, and then you can expect more when you do get married. So
as we get ready
and also talk to the young women about the same thing.
Yeah, well, they got to hear it, especially now, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, so they're worse than the men are now.
Yeah, you have to really you have to try to talk to your daughters and help them to at least to where they understand where you're coming from. But you got to understand where they're coming from too. And it's from our generation to the next. It's a gap right now. Society don't want us to have that generational wisdom.
You know what? I'll ask you on a future podcast. As your two kids, you've got a boy and a girl that grew up in a 2-parent household, right? You guys never divorced, anything like that. What kind of conversations you had to help to prepare them? I think that would be important for folks to hear that, right? Especially if you're getting into a relationship with a woman and she already has kids, right? You're stepping into a serious responsibility in that. So, they need to hear that as well. Can you recap the Bible verse, the chapter again?
1 Corinthians chapter 5 on sexual immorality.
And in that sexual immorality, we're seeing, the what is it, the beginning of the Olympics, and watching that the mockery of the Last Supper. I mean, we're seeing all kinds of degenerate activities that we are told that we must co-sign, right? And it's an issue. Do you believe that the church is beginning to wake up and starting to, again, stand their ground and say, hey, you're not going to shame me for being a Christian and believing what I believe is a sin, and you're not going to cancel me, but I'm not going to be quiet anymore?
I hope so, because I think there's going to come a time when that choice is going to have to be made, or
we're going to be judged,
or it's
right?
going to be made for you. You're going to be forced to make a
it
decision.
has been made for us, right?
Yeah. So they're forcing the agenda now. So people are going to have to, make their choice and say, I'm either cool with this or I'm not. And if you're not, you need to say something.
And where do we get that support? I know the easy answer is prayer and go to God and try to fellowship with folks. But what I'm seeing with most of the churches is they are allowing and accepting the sexual immorality that we see in the world.
So one, pastors need to, they need to educate their congregations more. So if the pastor can stand up and say, no, I'm not going to tolerate this, at least in my church.
Yeah. But they're not doing that.
That's a start. No, some churches are.
Are they?
Some churches are.
You got to tell me which ones so I can visit them.
But those churches that are doing that need to get together with other churches. So the pastors need to be communicating and saying, look, we need to stand on one accord now because times is getting rough. So we see the signs, so we know Jesus is coming back soon. So we need to, in order to get ready, we need to prepare. We need to start standing up now. Now the cost is gonna be high to some.
So this is the time where we really need to rally around and
Each
have
other.
A true brotherhood,
Exactly.
a true sisterhood,
exactly,
and be there for our brother and our sister as we're persecuted in Christ.
Yeah.
All right. Well, man, as we wrap, we got another good show coming up. So stay tuned for that. And this show is going to have not only yourself and me, but Brother Samuel and hopefully Brother Rod will come and get on the mic and have a conversation on these hip hop artists and what we're seeing with this demon worship. And there's a lot of sexual immorality there. So it's almost like a series of sexual immorality. That's kind of the through line of this conversation. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Okay.
And I will try to do better, for sure. So send all your questions to Gyland. He's got the answers, but he said we're doing it wrong. So, I'm going to try to.
We're going to work together and try to get everybody right. So
I can't say God knows my heart. That ain't working. All right.
We're going to try to get it right.
If she sell a bit, I can't buy a bit. That's still a sin. So I'm going to have to cope with that.
Hopefully, we're supposed to be there for each other. So.
Oh, man. All right. You want to take us
out? If you like what you're hearing, hit the button, subscribe, like, and we'll see you next time.